Good evening, everyone. Welcome to episode 26 of the Comic Art Live update. We got a great show for you this evening, and let me bring in the moderators who've got all the skills. Glenn Brunswick, Will Gabrielle, and marvelous Mike Berkey, who's got a dollar sign for a name.
How about that, huh?
Oh,
I gotta change. Can I change?
Hey, you got a shirt like my shirt, Mike.
Hey, no, you got a shirt like my
What's
shirt.
going on, Eagles?
And he got a early first round draft pick.
Well, like, you didn't get the memo.
Yeah, sorry, Will.
It's sitting it's sitting on the chest in my bed, so it'll bedroom, so it'll be warm.
All right. Well, that's really going to do a lot of good advertising for us.
Yeah,
Geez.
we're advertising. Yeah, they need a lot of players, so they're advertising players.
Yeah, the Eagles definitely need more help than comic art fans does.
Hey, they tapped me to make sure I put the PSA out. So what can I do?
He's probably getting paid to wear that shirt tonight. You guys aren't. Just remember.
Wow,
we're all doing this for free.
Comic art fans. Well, you should go in the other room real quick and put your shirt on.
Don't do it, Will. Don't do it. Don't let him force. So, hey, guys, I wanted to mention something because we're not going to talk to each other until this major event happens. And the major event is CAF is going to turn 18 years old. It's finally of age next Monday. Yeah, February 1st. Does
that mean we can drink? We can drink.
CAF can now vote and drink in some countries.
Yeah, and be drafted probably too. So yeah, it's a pretty special day. So we're gonna do the whole best of voting ends at Sunday at midnight. So I'm gonna do a little best of kind of recap of the votes and things from CAF, and then I'll probably toss one back and wish CAF a happy birthday that evening as well. So
what will be in that glass, Bill? Tell us what will be in that glass.
Bourbon, definitely.
Good choice.
Well, happy birthday, CAF and Bill. Like, if CAF is 18, how old does that make you?
Your baby.
52.
Just think, Bill. You're no longer responsible. CAF has got to pay its own way and find its way in the world.
That's right.
Wow, I didn't even think of it like that. Wow, I like that idea.
If only it stopped at 18.
I can start saving for retirement now.
It doesn't stop at 18.
Empty nest.
Well, CAF is your baby, so you're like the adult elephant in the room. You see.
That is true. That is true. And as James S. says, it's legal. Yes, it is. Yeah. So hey, I want to bring our guest in because we've got a lot of art to look at from their collection, and there's plenty of time to celebrate CAF's birthday next week. But without waiting any longer here, let me bring Mikail in. Hey, Mikail, how you doing?
Mikail.
Very well.
Hello.
Happy birthday to CAF.
Very good. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Speaking on behalf of CAF.
Yes, we all should have brought a drink with us this evening.
Well, you got to give us fair warning next time, Bill.
I will.
Didn't get that memo.
I brought mine.
Although some weeks I've done it without giving you guys the memo. So what can I say?
There you go. And even Chris says, "Get a job, CAF." So Mikail, welcome to the show. I appreciate. This was a little short notice, but we worked it out. So I'm glad that you were available to jump into the chat with us this evening.
It's a pleasure to be here. I've been watching the show since you guys started. Watching Bill turn into a media mogul, producing shows left, right, and center. And I'm sorry I couldn't make the top 25, but I'll take 26.
Oh, dang!
Wow.
Well,
it's the start of a whole new quarter.
That's true.
Right. You need to find a way to spin this into something more.
Second quarters are important. They're really important.
When you make the top 100, you're in the top 100.
Joking aside, though, it's been so great to see different aspects of different collections and the different way collectors can approach, their hobby. And I really enjoyed it.
Oh, great.
I think that's the best thing that everybody's gotten out of doing these chats is just seeing that there's relatable stories for most collectors. We've had enough of these conversations so that people see, yep, you're making the same mistakes that guy made 10 years ago, that guy made, 20 years ago, and it's all the same. Very relatable. So
Or on the other hand, maybe he's not making the same mistakes. Maybe he's having like the same victories that some other person. We don't have to like take the negative, you know.
All right.
Or maybe he's learned from the mistakes of others.
It's possible.
What we all wish for each.
I recently did pass up on a J. Musk piece for a Frank Miller instead. You know, I made the right choice.
Okay.
What Frank Miller piece?
No, I didn't get a Frank Miller piece. I was just talking about the infamous story that goes around about someone passing on the Dark Knight 2 cover and instead getting a John Musk painting.
Oh, I see.
Oh,
Right.
That has been discussed.
Yeah.
And of course everyone else, Jason has also noticed that the best dressed guy ever on the show. So yeah, Jason,
I know we should
definitely
jackets to even out here. Yeah.
You're dressing us up.
Yeah. It's how empty my life is. You know, I was like, let's get dressed up for CAF.
Yeah, and unfortunately, my tuxedo, I left it in the trunk of my Miata, so it's in really bad shape, and you know.
It's happened to all of us, Glenn. Happened to all of us.
So, Mikail, we always, the deal, how we start these shows off. If you've seen a few of these, we always like to get everybody's origin story as the kind of introduction to the show. So, can you kind of give us how you got started collecting original comic art?
I'll start with how I got into comic books because I think it's linked in a sense. When I grew up in Northern California, and when I was 9 years old, my parents moved us overseas to Pakistan, and this was in 1986. So I did not want to go. I was very hesitant. I didn't want to leave my life here and go there. But they went and we had to go. And when I got there, in the attic of my grandmother's house, I found a suitcase full of comics. Just a complete mixed bag of Bronze and Silver Age stuff. It was my, stuff that my dad had and his brothers and friends had. And I would just sit in that attic and sulk about not being in California and read these comics over and over again. And, so that's where I kind of got into comic books. And being in Pakistan, you didn't have access to a lot, but you got, some of the more mainstream stuff. Anything that was deemed too sexy or occult would be censored and not allowed. And so, you're reading Archie, Mad Magazine, Superman, Batman, that kind of thing. Anyways, fast forward, I read comics up until like the early 90s. Went away from them, college, everything. And then in 2013, my family, we were living in Pakistan at the time, moved to Boston. And in 2015, I went to my first con. And that was like the taste of it, see what's happening. And I got just a phenomenal commission from Tim Sale. 2016, I got another couple of commissions. And then 2017, Albert was there. Got to give him credit. And you go by his booth and you see the things that you read as a child, just the originals, and I was just blown away. And I didn't buy anything, but I wrote to him after the show, and then that just kind of started the process. So in a nutshell, if I had discovered cons and shows and original comic art earlier, it would have been, I really feel like it would have just been like my life's focus. It had been like, I was 18 and at a con or something. But
so now I hate to tell you this, I don't have that first art image. So what was the first artwork that you picked up?
The first artwork ever was when I was living in Pakistan. Someone sent me a web comic by Yale Stewart called JL8, and he started doing eBay auctions for some of the strips and some of the panels. And he did a Zatanna that was fantastic that I bid on. Was my first eBay bid ever, and I lost. And then the next time he did it was this piece, and I won it. But that didn't really set off the the OA kind of desire, but it opened my eyes to what lies behind the printed page.
Sure. So when you finally corresponded with Albert, what kind of things did you first start picking up from him?
So I did a combo order, and I got a Magnolia piece, a Jim Lee piece, and I forget what the third one was, but it might have been the Darwin Cook Hulk. And I'd seen them in person at the con, so I kind of had more faith in them. And I wrote to him. Oh no, sorry, it was the Infinity Gauntlet page, the Perez one. And I wrote to him, and he did me a nice deal for buying 3 pieces. And that Infinity Gauntlet piece, those were the 6 comics I had up on my wall in their bags, as a kid. So it just really struck a deep chord. And then you just start looking, and you start to find all sorts of things, And the one thing I'm thankful for is every day that you started in this hobby that's not like today is an advantage that now after 5 years, I see it so deeply. Like, it's ridiculous. This pricing, the way these things are going up, it's hard to enter into this hobby now.
Right.
I would say, but you made that's a big splash going with Jim Lee, a Mike Mignola piece, and a George Perez Infinity Gauntlet. You didn't start small. You went right for it.
Oh, all right. So I should say that I had a kid, and but I didn't have any expensive hobbies. Once in a while I'd go out for a nice sushi meal or buy a nice bottle of whiskey, but otherwise I didn't spend my money. I would just reinvest it, and I think I was at that age in my life where people start to think about like a nice car or something like that. And so I knock on wood, had a bit of a war chest. And so it's hard. I mean, that first commission from Tim Sale, to walk into a con, I don't think I even took enough money. I think I took $400, which I thought would be way too much money, and how will I ever spend it? But luckily cons have ATM machines. But handing over $600 to someone, it's the most expensive thing that I'd ever bought, on spur of the moment, so to say. And I still, to this day, don't know what it was in me that allowed me to make that first big purchase. But as I'm sure you all know, it gets easier.
Yeah.
Well,
It certainly does.
I don't know if you describe it as easier or more addictive. So you're sliding down the rabbit hole, so to speak.
I'm just.
Well, I didn't think I'd ever be in a hobby where PayPal is sending me tax information.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you named your first child Albert. That's all.
I'll give Albert props.
At the Boston Con, right? You said
at the Boston Con, yeah.
Yeah.
The pieces that I purchased were reasonably priced. It wasn't like, oh, I'm spending all this money and the value isn't there. Mm-hmm. Certainly now, 4 years later, 100% the value was there.
No, it's so I see a ton of art all at once somewhere. It's amazing.
But no, my first son's not Albert, but he's an institution in his own right for sure. So even when he yells at you, it's fun.
Oh yeah, none of us have gotten yelled at by Albert before. So what was the conversation with Tim Sale? I mean, what did you end up picking up from him?
I asked him for the Hulk because I love his Gray Hulk rendition, giving my daughter a flower. or interacting with my daughter. I think the flower was his idea. This is an idea that I've kind of been throwing around, and you're in line waiting, and you're like, what do I ask for? What do I ask for? And I showed him, and he was super cool about it. I showed him a kind of pic, and I said, I'm not like a psychopath who wants a photorealistic rendition of his daughter. I'm like, an impression of her. She's just a baby. I showed him a picture, and he just knocked it out of the park.
Nice.
If you look at the
Beautiful
if you
background.
look at the middle of it, the dark part of his haunches or his glutes, that was like the first stroke that he put on the paper. Like it's directly with ink, right? No pencil. And then the second stroke was the horizon line right at the bottom. So those are the first two marks he put on the paper. And it
Wow.
and then to watch him craft this was just mind-boggling.
That's
a
amazing.
good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I've always said if you ever have an opportunity, an artist who you think is great, as long as they don't mind. Like when I first met John Romita, I watched him draw a Spider-Man commission from the start to the finish in like 4 minutes, and it was amazing just watching it from nothing to something. I'm sure obviously this piece took hours because there's a lot of wash and things like that on it, but it'd be fun.
The slot was for 40 minutes, and he ended up doing about an hour on each one.
Yep.
I think.
I said, I bet you that's what it was. That's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, it's great.
Really cool. And personally meaningful.
Yeah, and
And
it almost probably has that Frankenstein motive. Remember from the first Frankenstein movie? That's what I was thinking, of course. But Frankenstein kills the girl. I mean,
Nice image.
it makes me when you say Frankenstein, a little girl with a flower, makes me think of the first Frankenstein movie.
Was your daughter with you at the show, or you brought a picture, or what did you do?
no, I took a picture, but on the Sunday of that same show, when kids get in free, I took her dressed as, and she was a baby. She was less than a year, I think, and she was dressed in a Wonder Woman outfit. And then there was a guy there dressed like Jared from Labyrinth. And so I was like, you got to hold my baby so I could take a picture. And she started screaming, and I just have this picture of her from her first con, being stolen away. It was fantastic. And now I take her every time.
Torture your daughter for a photo op.
And I will say that being in line, meeting the artists, speaking with them, and ideally settling on a commission idea that you both want. Like sometimes I know, there's so much pressure. The line is a huge line, and you want to keep things moving, and you just kind of spit out some character suggestions. But even 5 minutes to talk to an artist and just figure out the wavelength that you both are on, and just if an idea comes out of that organically, it's always going to be 1,000 times better than just can I please have X? Or you've never even spoken to the artist and you just signed up on a list,
Right.
No, makes sense.
Yeah.
I had like a really great commission experience with Gene Colan, 1999. Him to version of Captain America 46, the timely cover that has like basically Captain America and Bucky saving like a rabbi from being put in the ovens. It's the Holocaust cover. And I asked Gene to do like a contemporary version, like his version of that scene. And he, it emotionally touched him. And so he was like, well, I'd like to do it horizontally and twice up, if that's okay with you. And I was like, yeah, sure. That'd be great. But yeah, like he knocked it out of the park. And actually the thing that he did is actually in the Marvel exhibit right now. That's in
Detroit.
In Detroit and going to Chicago, which unfortunately a lot of people can't see because of the COVID thing. But yeah, no, it turned into like just my most important commission. I mean, one of the most important pieces in my collection, and just started out as this small commission that was just like sort of a back and forth between us, just sort of in the way that you described, until it evolved into what it was. So. Yeah, I think that makes things special if you can if you can have like a communication, instead of just saying like I want Spider-Man, and Daredevil and a cityscape, and I mean, I think it's more meaningful if you have that interaction.
Same thing with the Superman punching Hitler here. That's by Jay Lee. I commissioned that at a con, and it was again for Zatanna, coincidentally. And he didn't finish it at the con, so he's like, "Can I do it, at home?" And then we were just corresponding. And then in 2016, this is 2016, and so after the election, I was just, I was like, "Oh man, I just feel, really low," and do you mind if you haven't started? Do you mind if we change the kind of concept? And he was very cool about it. And
was this in 2017? I'm guessing.
I beg your pardon?
2017. You got that commission. You said you were feeling low after the election.
Yeah. So I commissioned it at a con in 2016, and he gave it to me at the same con in 2017.
Okay.
I see.
Only Will got that joke.
Notice everybody else ignored you.
So, CGC sent me a warning
That was
for
all.
writing that. So.
That's all it was. Hey, Bill, if you don't mind putting up a fifth comment up, art is learnable.
Art is learnable. Where am I missing? Oh, there it is. Okay.
What are Mikail's thoughts on collecting covers versus sequentials versus commissions at this point in his collecting? So take it away, Mikail.
I think it just really depends on what you can get. If there's an artist, and please forgive any mispronunciation of names or anything,
You would not be alone there. Guys have been doing this for decades and decades, still mispronounce.
So, if there's an artist that I'm interested in, and I just look at what's available and I kind of make decisions based on that. Sometimes you're going to pick up 4 pages of a sequence, 2 are action, 2 are bookending it with a little bit of just talking heads, but you get a good price for picking up all 4. And you're getting, different examples of, how that artist works. And so that may be more economic and may fit my needs more at the time than just a cover from a series. And commissions, I feel like I never thought I'd be so deeply into commissions, but they're a great way to experiment. So again, if I can't get published work, which from a collecting economic standard will always generally hold its value a little bit more than a commission, then I go for a commission and I really try to play to the artist's strength so that I get a piece that's compelling and that's interesting to me, because I basically look at a commission as something that's mine forever. I mean, sometimes you get one, maybe you would sell it, but it doesn't even really enter into my. So it just really depends on the artist and what's available. But I think there's a great value in sequential pieces. I think it's a good way to make sure you don't have C pages floating around. If someone's buying 2 great action pieces from you, give them a discount and offer them the bookends that maybe aren't going to sell. They're just going to sit there. Better to move them out of the shop. Better that they're with someone as a sequence that tells a story. In my opinion, at least.
I think what's interesting about when you were talking about like the communication you have with the artist when you're planning a commission is what helps like attach you to pieces. I know, and when I'm most disappointed by commissions, it's when I haven't had a lot of interaction and given a lot of input, and those are the cases when you get the piece in and you feel disappointed that you feel like you're tempted to just sell it. But I think when you have the kind of communication that you were talking about earlier with the artist, that regardless of what he gives you, it's going to have meaning. And so I think that's probably why you feel that way. Whereas, I think sometimes, artists don't want input from the commissioner, and then they just they're like, I've been doing this, kid. I've been doing this 20 years. I know what I'm doing. Leave me alone. I'm going to knock it out of the park for you. And then you get it and you're like, this is not what I had in mind.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I really try not to have anything in mind. I think that's where a lot of problems begin. I say this, I'm not an artistic person. I can't draw anything to save my life. So the whole artistic process is very magical to me and mystical, and something I respect a great deal. So unless I have something very specific in my mind for a project that I'm doing, I really just try to stay with a character, a theme, a concept, and I always try to give the artist a choice, because the way I see it is, if you say you're an artist and your rep gives you a list of 3 people, 3 character choices, right? You're looking at them, you're going to have a reaction towards one of them instinctively, right? And that reaction will then carry with it a spark that's going to, you had a reaction for a reason. So if I say Poison Ivy, Swamp Thing, or, Iron Man, 3 very different characters, one is organic, one is technical, one is very, a female with a, different kind of wardrobe. So the artist, we don't know what clicks in their mind when they see that list.
Sure.
But something does. And
Right.
I'd like to think that, even just that little bit of leeway creates a better piece versus you dictating, hey, draw me, Spider-Man for the 50 millionth time. And you may love drawing Spider-Man. There's nothing wrong with that. And you may love collecting Spider-Man. I think that's fantastic too.
I mean, I know John Romita Jr. loves drawing Spider-Man. Like, that's one of his favorite characters. So, like, anytime he gets that as a commission, he's thrilled. But other artists might not feel that way.
Yeah. I just try to stay open. I just really try to keep my mind really open. A piece comes in, it's not what I think it's going to be. I put it away, come back to it, look at it, look for what did I commission this artist for, and I try to find their strong points in the piece, and I have a pretty decent success rate for me. I'm happy with 95% of the pieces I get in.
So when you frame, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. Glenn.
I was going to say, when you frame work, like, I noticed you have some work behind you. Like, what is it like published pages that you like to frame? Is it commissions? Like, what do you feel is worthy of being?
When I started, I very proudly and very honestly told artists and that everything I buy gets framed and put up on the wall, and that's exactly what happened until I ran out of wall space. And then I had to start making hard decisions about certain things.
No, you got to get a bigger. You got to get a bigger place.
You're a lower row.
You just got to go up, and you got to go vertical now instead of across.
I tried that. I tried the Bill Cox, but my mind would not accept it. I'm too linear. The clutter just drove me crazy. So now I live in portfolio land. But I do like these the metal frames, and then most 11 by 17 pieces you can swap in and out pretty easily at home. So I do that fairly often if I want to change something up, if it's not a custom mat or something like that.
Okay.
All right.
So there was another question. You get lots of questions, Mikail. Someone said, you got beautiful and unusual pieces in your collection, which you certainly do, but they're asking, how do you find new artists? And is it by reading a lot of books, or, is it just going out and taking a chance on some things?
Well, thank you, M. M is the best initial, by the way. I'm at my LCS weekly. I love browsing the shelves, and it's gotten so competitive, this hobby, that you almost kind of have to be, if you want to kind of push your collection and stay really current, and not that that's what I'm doing, but I'm just saying, if you want to pick up the next hot artist, work by the next hot artist at a reasonable rate, you have to do it when they're younger in their career. I'm reading, so I go to the LCS every week, if not every other week. I have a full list of about 30 books. I read, and then the stuff I like, I immediately just dig into it. Who did this? All right, internet. Who's repping them? Where are they living? What can I get from them? But I'm not pushed about it. I'm kind of settling into, like, I built the base of my collection, and I see myself kind of looking at bigger pieces, thinking about consolidating a little bit. But
Have you
And
so you've never sold anything then?
I've sold a few pieces. You give me a good price and I'll sell you a piece.
So you're a flipper.
No, that's not what he's saying.
I know. I'm just teasing. I'm just saying some other people think anybody that sells something is a flipper. I know that's not true.
So a more serious question: how do you feel about selling or trading? Is it a pleasant experience? Do you look at it as glass half full instead of half empty? You look at what you're gaining instead of what you're losing, which is sort of my point of view, or is it more a distasteful experience or a necessary experience?
I think it's 100% necessary, because this hobby is unique in that you cannot, aside from what the auction houses have, you cannot just walk into this hobby and buy what you want.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
You need to know. First of all, you have to find it. You know, if you're looking for something that's in high demand, you know, you have to find it. You have to find the black hole. You have to be friendly with people. You have to maintain contacts. And then the information starts to flow. You know, I try to be super nice and fair to people because that's how I want to be treated. And I think it's working. You know, the pieces that I'm looking for now, I try to buy them privately. I prefer not to go through the auction houses. Although I will if I need to. And I like it when everyone walks away happy. You know, if to get a piece out of me, and everything I buy is with that rubric of like, if you're stuck with it, that's on you. So I love every piece I buy. But I do buy a lot of, early on in my buying, I bought a lot of what I call bullets. So I like X artists, and I buy, you know, 5 pieces. 2 are to truly keep for me, and 3 are if in the future somebody wants them, then I have them to give them to trade for something else. It's weird. I always wondered, why did I think like this? But I have a lot of stuff that I really like and that's perfectly happy in my collection, mostly with the sequential stuff. But it gives me options when it comes to trading, and you have to have some options.
Yeah, and if you're upgrading, that's all. It's only a good thing if you feel you're upgrading. You know, the same artist, a better piece by the same artist. You know, that's a good thing.
So, do you look at like you come into each year thinking like, well, I have like such and such a budget to spend on art, and if I go over that budget, then I have to sell some pieces, or like how do you think of like each year in terms of like what you're, you know?
No, I just the vague rule of thumb is that like X% of my net worth, there's a limit to how much can be in comic art, and the only other rubric is that I try to have like a nest egg ready in case something pops up that you have to like move on fast.
Right.
But honestly speaking, that nest egg amount is not enough anymore. You know, it used to be where if you could like quickly pull low 6 figures, you could kind of grab anything that would pop up. But now it's insanity. I'll tell you guys, I made a strong run at that Barry Windsor Smith Weapon X Flash, but I had to drop out. I mean, that was insanity. It was like a bloodbath.
Yeah, that was for a lot.
Would that go for like 132 or something like that?
No, more.
188.
Oh, 188. Gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
you know.
Amazing.
I used to buy you a lot of art. That was like a fantastic weekend in New York or San Diego or wherever, or maybe the whole year.
That's a Vegas weekend. Imagine going to San Diego with like.
That's like a Vegas weekend with all your friends. What are you talking?
So, I mean, the other thing I was just telling some friends the other day is I started out buying, and I bought hard and heavy, right? I had this war chest, and I spent it. Like I went after everything that I wanted. And now 3 to 4 years later, I say thank God, because it's all more expensive for the most part. And that's hard advice to give someone new, right? Like, hey kid, go out and spend a lot of money on stuff that you may or may not understand. But at the moment, the other truth is that tomorrow it's going to be more expensive.
Right.
Did you guys see on Comic Link? There's a Trad Moore page that's at $715. It's like a new Ghost Rider page with no discernible main characters on it. It's at $715, and it probably sold for like $115.
Yeah.
He's hot right now.
Yes, he is. And Mikail has a few pieces from Trad as well.
That's an artist who I discovered his work thanks to Felix's podcast. He had all his other artists on, and all the other artists were like, "Whose work do you like?" And they were all like, "Trad," and they all said, "You got to see it to believe it." So I ordered on the basis of that podcast. I went to Felix's site. I picked 2 pages that probably cost me $225, and I ordered them. And they came in, and I looked at the work, and when you see it in your hands, it's absolutely spectacular. It's mind blowing. And I told Felix, I'm like, can I buy an issue of Silver Surfer Black? And I did. I mean, so that was like an experiment. That was an investment. That was like research, right? You read, you hear the podcast, you listen to what they're saying, you invest in getting the pieces. Then you make your own decision. Like, is this great or is it just crazy?
That looks like 60s pop art. That looks cool. The background.
Yeah, it looks like Peter Max kind of.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Is that a wraparound cover or what is that? Is that a double spread?
Yeah, that's a double spread. He did them on as one pieces on. So it's not a double spread size. It's slightly smaller.
Huh.
It's like 70s art when they were ripping off the artists and they do two pages on one board.
Wow, that's great stuff.
No, you're right, Mikail. It's like a little bit great, a little bit crazy. That's an accurate description.
Like this page that we're looking at has 12 separate surfer images on it. Just this wackadoodle.
Wow.
Is that all from the same book?
Yeah, I bought the whole book.
Oh, okay, that's from one whole book.
So did you read this run before you bought the book, or you just jumped in without any prior?
At this point, I still made myself wait to read. I think issue 1 had come out before I kind of committed.
Okay.
And 90% of my purchases are related to something I purchased. I read. I have to have read it to have a relationship with the material.
That makes sense. Yeah, no, I would expect that you would.
You ever come across something like a newer artist and maybe you're a little bit familiar with their work, you fall in love with it, you buy pieces, and then you feel the urge to catch up on reading everything they've done? Yeah, have you ever?
I did that with Daniel Warren Johnson.
Okay. No, I'm sorry.
No, after Wonder Woman Dead Earth, I went back and read Extremity, and I read Murder Falcon, which were fantastic. I have to read Space Mullet, which is the name probably is what put me off from having read it thus far, but I now give Daniel the benefit of the doubt and will pretty much read anything that he's done. So
okay, that was me with Ed McGuinness on Hulk, a little more. Little less esoteric, but once I sort of fell in love with his version of the Hulk, I felt compelled to try and, catch up on all the stories and characters and subtleties, and it made buying it that much more satisfying.
And I'm getting more into, or rather I realized that in terms of story, the best thing to do is just follow the writers that you like. They're probably going to deliver a consistent story to you every time. Because I'm not big into the big crossovers and the media events, but I'm generally a big 2 guy. That's what I grew up with. That's what most of my collection is. But there's so much great stuff being made. Something is Killing the Children, Department of Truth. I've been a huge advocate of that book. I think it's, in my opinion, so much more compelling than Tynion's writing on Batman. It's a whole different world.
So I'm noticing from the audience there's some interest in the Silver Surfer Black story of yours. So if you want to sell it right here and now on the show, you've got 3 art dealers that can negotiate the deal for you. I'm not saying that's the direction you have to go in. I'm just telling you what your options are.
I've been offered a very nice Ditko Spider-Man page for it. I've been offered a Jim Lee DPS for it. It's the interest is undeniable, but it's like my baby. That this thing is.
No. I don't want you to sell your baby. I'm just Oh my.
That's how it shipped.
That is cool.
That's a cover. Oh, that's a portfolio.
It's a portfolio.
It's a book.
That's the book. Who drew?
Did you?
I didn't realize that was the book. Oh my goodness.
Did you have that made, or it was shipped to you like that?
No, I had it made.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I thought Felix was really taken care of.
Yeah, it was like, Felix is definitely stepping up his game if it comes like that. We all need to change the portfolios that we have.
The art is its own artist edition.
It was a labor of love, and I love how it came out. It's something that gives me a great deal of joy, and I'm in the process of treating 3 other complete stories in the same kind of way.
Wow.
So,
that's pretty. What are the other stories that you're contemplating?
I have The Dreaming number 9 by Bilquis Evely complete. So we're going to do that. I have a Steve Root story that I'm probably going to do. And I have another Silver Surfer, the all red slot Silver Surfer issue, number 15 from the first run.
So are you a big Surfer fan? Like that's one of your favorite characters?
No, it's
more about the artist.
The artist, all about the artist, yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I think I like so complete issues are telling Will. Like, I really enjoy them, and I could see down the road being like, that's my 12 CAF highlighted gallery pieces, or would be like 12 complete issues, kind of done up really nicely, and also very meaningful to me with the artists that I like.
Do they have to have the cover for you to feel they're complete?
No, they don't. In fact, the Dreaming story I got without a cover, and I commissioned 2 covers for it. So that was actually an extremely fun project for me. This is from another issue, but this is one of the covers that I commissioned for the Dreaming issue that I have by Clara Tessier.
Mikail, for a guy who says he has no artistic skills, you certainly talk the lingo and have an understanding of, you said you commissioned and, this is another project. And I mean, you sound like a guy who's versed in the medium.
I owe my mother was a big museum goer, when we were kids and we'd travel. We'd go to museums. My brother's a very talented artist. I always admired him. And I was telling Bill I wanted to plug my sister-in-law. If any of you are in New York, my sister-in-law has a public art exhibition at Rockefeller Center. That's just gone live. It's running through May. So, I've been fortunate to be surrounded by art and by people who appreciate art, and learning how to look at it and this is Zoo Orzo, just a really compelling artist. It's a mix of, mixed media truly, with embroidery, acrylics, everything. And you can see both of them explored the theme of the fairy queen seducing or controlling Morpheus or Daniel.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
No,
So that was
showed,
fun. I got an
around.
issue. I didn't have a cover. I was like, I was able to make a cover happen, which was kind of fun.
That's a pretty unique, exciting idea to sort of design your own cover for the story that you can't get the cover to, or I mean, it's
Well, I mean,
ambitious.
I love Mike. The 1 minute later gallery. I mean, that's such a phenomenal idea. So
Right.
well executed. I think there's some great ideas like that out there.
Yeah, no, there are, but the art influences around you do show. So you can claim that you have some artistic prowess.
My mother sent me a magnet that says, "I'm more wasted than a liberal arts degree," and I had a minor in art history, so I can probably pull some of the BS lingo out and use it occasionally.
Okay.
But the funny thing about artists too is, right, some are very vocal and well-spoken, but the way I see artists is they chose to express themselves in a medium that's not talking to you. So don't expect an artist to be, very eloquent or clear about what they're doing. They could be, but they don't necessarily have to be. They've chosen to express themselves in a different way. Being
Right.
able to speak coherently about it is just a bonus if they can do it, but artists are artists, and I've learned that the temperament is very special and different.
I have to say, your attitude with not only the temperament of artists, but with approaching commissions with artists, you are like water. You are like very zen. You sort of fill in the spaces where you can flow into, and you sort of take the shape of what you need to be for the moment.
I do. I feel like I do try to be a chameleon in that, or yeah, that's how you have to be to make your way in the world, right? If you're a rock, you're just going to get stuck. You want to keep moving. You have to change. You have to flow, and just put yourself in the other person's shoes. That's all you have to really do.
Absolutely.
To solve like 90% of our problems.
You're already ahead of the curve. Yeah. With negotiating, you are already ahead of the curve.
So there's some commissions that I've been wanting to show, because that's come up several times, and I know that you're working on a series with Colleen Duran. That you picked a few images out.
Yeah, coming out of reading new work. So she did last year a graphic novel, which was an adaptation of a Neil Gaiman story. And I found the work to be so incredible. And luckily I met her at New York Comic Con 2019. 2019. And I really enjoyed her work. I bought a page from her, and then I explored her Patreon, and there's a tier that gives you a piece. So I signed up for that, and I spoke to her, and we kind of had this wavelength about what I wanted, and I think it's some of the best work of her career. We've done 3 of the 7 endless, and they're just all so special in their own way. The detail in Desire's cloak, in the insignia behind them, I mean, it's just mind-boggling. I love the concept. I love the execution. Really clean, crisp, black and white.
And you're getting all that by being a part of her Patreon at the right level.
That's right. Yep.
Wow.
Very beautiful.
Yeah, there's been a lot of discussions. Yeah.
We have excellent taste together, I think. Yeah.
I do. Mike, you look. You really. Just to show you how similar we are, I'll also plug CAF. Bill, you were talking about the notification email for your artwork, artwork that you want, right? super important, super useful. The other day I woke up because my dog was scratching at the cage. It was 4:30 in the morning, and I never, ever, ever look at my phone before 4:30 because it'll wake me up and keep me awake.
That's right. You bought the 2 pages.
For some reason, I looked at my phone at 4:30 in the morning.
To Mikail. I didn't realize it was you.
And I see 2 amazing Frank Whiteley pieces. He's one of my favorite artists. And I was very fortunate enough to grab them. So like Bill says, sign up for the freaking notifications because they are amazing.
Exactly. And I mean, I'm taking care of these guys because you figure the notifications are more geared towards the guys I work with, the reps I work, the dealers I work with than anybody else. So I know that's Mike. You said you sold like 7 or 8 pieces like within the first 5 or 10 minutes, and I mentioned I thought it was because of those CAF alerts that we have. There's a lot of people who have Frank Whiteley in their keyword list.
I put 7 Frank Whiteleys up at 4:35 a.m. in the morning, and 1 hour later they were all gone. Every one. And good old Simon Miller bought the best one. He's on the board too, right here. And he drove to my house to pick it up. He lives local to me.
Now, why do you feel 4:30 in the morning is the appropriate time to be listening?
I was going to say only Mike 4:30.
No. I said that's
no. It was 7:30 East Coast.
Yeah. What time was it for you?
It must have been. It was 4:30 for me.
Yeah. Well, I'm East Coast.
Yeah.
I was just surprised that Mike that's the time period that Mike decides he wants to update his website. It's like, when you got up, you had like a cold piece of pizza, and you're like,
I didn't get up. I was still up.
Well, that pizza really makes me feel like I got to update the website.
Yeah.
I'll head over there. And
I find out I get more done at nighttime, so I put on my politics or music stations, and I work and I sleep like from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. I love that doggy. What's its name?
Cute.
That's Bowie.
Bowie.
Bowie?
Bowie.
Bowie.
I have to thank her for the Quietly pieces because she was.
I was just going to say the same thing.
Well, Bowie's getting quite a treat.
And I don't know. We can. Well, I'm not going to say anything. I was going to say you can almost thank Albert for those pieces too, but I wasn't. Right, Mike?
Yes. Yes.
Albert.
Speaking of Albert, we can drop a CAF exclusive if you want right now, Bill.
Yeah.
Oh, that the piece you wanted to do last?
Yeah, sure.
All right.
As it's come up organically. So Albert did this himself. I had to wait about 15 years for it.
Albert does a really good impression of Jim Lee.
I think he got Scott to ink it to kind of make up for the shortfall.
Wow, that's terrific.
Yeah, it's tough to see all the detail in that one because I had the original scan. I could probably crop it differently, but it's absolutely beautiful. And did you just get this?
I beg your pardon?
Did you just get it?
I just got it. Yeah.
That's
it was a really interesting experience to be waiting on a commission and then hear the artist announce the 60 sketches that they're going to do. But I have absolutely no regrets. Obviously, it was a fantastic thing to do. And I think, Jim really stretched on those sketches. I mean, when he came out guns blazing and he did that Death, he did that Dead Man, that Dark Side, or with the Brainiac, just really pulling out all the stops and showing us what like Jim Lee can do. I was more than happy to wait. And then, he produced this beast, which again, Silver Surfer, not that I would say Silver Surfer is my favorite, but really
It's starting to look that way.
I was going to say, I don't know.
Despite your protestations, it's starting to look like Surfer might be one of your faves.
It seems like.
Yeah, no, it's a definitely beautiful piece. Sorry, somebody asked if Mike had to be in court today, so that made me. That's it. You can thank James for that.
You might.
In court, yeah, it was for blowing off too many fireworks on the 4th of July. So.
Yeah, that'll teach you.
I didn't actually know that you owned a sport jacket, Mike.
Yeah, I do.
He bought it for the Society of Illustrators. You know.
Yes. I don't know how to tie a tie, but I have them all already tied up on a hanger in there. But I don't know how to tie a tie. But
I thought it was a clip-on.
Is there a Spider-Man embroidered on the back?
No. I have some in the other room I could show you if you want.
Mikail, don't give him ideas.
Tied by John Romita too.
I was going to say it's going to be Spider-Man embroidered with Romita's signature on his lapel.
I mean, he already did a Spider-Man wrap on his car, so
yeah.
The jacket could be next.
Billy,
if anyone's checking out my CAF forum, I do have an Iron Man jacket that I have on my CAF.
I didn't see that.
Mikail, the whole group's #1 question is: do you own any Spider-Man art?
Do I? You know what?
The greatest superhero of all time. Surely you have to have at least one.
That's what we were all.
Yeah, we were all.
I have a fair amount of Spider-Man. I have a Tradmore Spider-Man and Miss Marvel, and the going rate for that is about what did we say? Was it 17 grand, 25 grand? How much did that go for?
Oh, a public.
I think those went for just under 18. Yeah.
18, right? So that's a pretty good Spider-Man piece. You know, I've got the same thing, except it's published.
The show.
I beg your pardon.
That? You don't have an image of that to show us?
Well, no, you know.
I could if it's in your CAF. Let me. Sorry, I can pull them up. We always have to look at a Spider-Man.
It's not there.
No, they're not. They're not there. No.
I took it off.
Yeah. Sorry,
Mike. There's a question back up at 9:40 p.m. RS88.
He's a joker. Don't listen to him. You know these Canadians.
That's ways back up there. Yeah. Where is it? Gosh, there's a lot of comments.
I have a nice strip that I met Alex Soviak at Boston, and he showed me a nice strip.
Did you see? I don't know, Mikail. Did you? I mean, it blew me away. The last two. I hate to go back to Heritage lot, but the Saviak strips that have sold in the last couple of Heritage have gone for like 4 times market value.
That wasn't the one.
Like $500. They're going for
That's at 948.
$2,000.
No, 940.
All right,
but anyway, the Saviak stuff is really.
I have a McFarlane.
You have a McFarlane too?
There we go. Mikail, you have a wonderful balance between modern art and nostalgic pieces. What's the main driver today? And sip that before you tell us.
It's what I can afford and what's available.
Yeah.
That's basically it.
All of our things.
I was, it's so weird. There was one afternoon early in my collecting where I was like, I love The Jungle Adventure by Mike Mignola. So let me go on CAF and the internet and let me see what I can find. And within 2 hours, Albert had a piece. I bought that. I wrote to a person on CAF who agreed to sell me a piece, and or 2 people on CAF agreed to sell me a piece. And so I did all 3 deals, and they all showed up on the same day. And so now I have 5 pages from one of my favorite books of all time.
No, it's funny you say that, because I can't tell you, a lot of times when I've picked up something for my collection, I feel like things come in 2s, and not in 5s or 3s for me, but in 2s. I've picked up things, and like a second piece presents itself within days, hours, whatever, I may not even be looking for it. So it's interesting that you say that. It's like one piece attracts its brother.
It is, yeah, it is. You're looking for something, or to get back to Mike's drop. I mean, All-Star Superman pages are not that common. I didn't see one on the market for the first 3 or 4 years of my collecting, and then all of a sudden in the last year, I've seen 5 probably. So this page, I remember distinctly at the time.
It's okay.
It was great. I bought it and I overpaid for it. And I told the guy, I was like, I'm overpaying for it. Just don't tell anyone how much I'm paying for it, but I'm happy to pay you this price.
Okay.
And the other nice thing was that the gentleman lived in the town next to me. So then he actually just drove it over to me the next day. And I was able to meet him and we were able to talk and become friends. So that was, that's again, it's the nice kind of aspect of the hobby. And then because it was 3 years ago, I've obviously now made my money back and it's worth more than I paid for it.
Yeah, I thought that was a good story.
And I don't worry about Mignola too much now because I'm like, okay, this is my wheelhouse for Mignola. I'm going to collect jungle adventure pages. So Francesco, if you're listening, please reply to my email about me buying all of your pages from you.
You have 5 now, right?
I have 5, yeah. I know where the cover is. That's with Joe Lee. I know where the back page is.
Hey, Spider-Man.
This was the McFarlane.
No mask, no webs, but good inks, no marker.
Yeah, it's a good page.
McFarlane's another example where, like, if I didn't have this page, I would have to sit and fret about where's my McFarlane Spider-Man. But now I have it, so I don't have to worry about it so much.
Well, we got rid of Will, so everything's fine. So we're all good.
That's a once-a-show tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, we're the Blues Brothers, Mikail. You happy days.
Wow, Mike, you're such a joiner.
I said I have a cat similar. I wish he'd walk around. I'd pull up my cat. He could be the brother of your doggy. What breed is your doggy?
It's a French bulldog.
Oh, it is a French bulldog. Okay, I was wondering. Yeah. How old?
Yeah, she's just 4.5 months.
4.5 months?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So still room to grow.
So
but, what else, guys? What else can we talk about? Oh, well, this is a great.
I think there was a story, in this one. I thought too.
So again, off the back of the Felix podcast, he had Daniel Warren Johnson on, and he was talking about how he wanted a Mike Mignola piece. I had met Mike at Boston Comic Con, where the line at his table was criminally small. It was like Mike and Steve Rude and like Simon Beasley in the corner. So I stopped by, I spoke to him, I got a great story out of him. I bought a sketch, I bought an inked Hellboy bust. So I reached out to Felix and said, hey, would Daniel like to do an art swap? I've got this bust. And he sent me this just incredible piece. He posted progress shots on his Instagram, and this is like the second draft that he did, whereas the first draft was also incredible. And the artistry, the vision that he put into this, it's just amazing. It's super well executed. I love these domestic scenes, and this is a piece that's just in my collection forever. It's never going to go anywhere. And I really love the idea of doing an art swap or trade that happens kind of organically.
Trading is fun. It takes you back to your youth, swapping toys on the playground.
Yeah, Felix has done a lot of good stuff for his fans and people who are his customers. That's for sure, and that's a nice thing he worked out for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like he didn't have to do it, he didn't. And I fear that subsequently he's received more than a few requests for people trying to do the same. And if you watch any part of Daniel Warren Johnson's YouTube videos or interviews, he's such a nice, down-to-earth guy. You can understand why, he needs help kind of keeping his multitude of fans, organized.
Oh, without question.
Yeah, that's a beautiful piece.
Yeah, there was a let's see, where was it? A comment about any Inky Knuckles art pop up yet? Where was that? There it is.
From the bottom.
Yeah. See, I actually picked up something from Inky Knuckles. Inky Knuckles is actually a new advertiser on CAF as well. So I definitely encourage people to check out the artists that he represents. Bruno Seelig. Yep. Yeah. I really like the guys that Cameron reps over there, and he's kind of in that same mold of Felix, where he does a really good job. He's a little bit newer, but he's definitely presenting his artists in a really nice way. So,
can you pull up my Troy Nixie piece?
I probably can.
I mean, just a phenomenal piece, thanks to Cam, and Troy is a really interesting person. We've been exchanging messages. He finally got me reading some manga, so I'm halfway through Akira right now, which is just amazing. I mean, when you think about 1983, one person producing all that work to that detail, and I think Troy's kind of channeling that aesthetic and work ethic.
Wow, that's beautiful.
This is an Artist Choice cyberpunk commission.
Wow.
Almost like Mars Attacks type of thing with skeletons.
No, that's why I have a headache. That's my issue right there.
I was thinking it's some sort of take on Geiger in a way.
Yeah, it does look a little like Geiger.
Yeah, Nixie does.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how he approaches a story or an idea.
It also kind of has like a little bit of a gothic feel too.
Mm-hmm. He seems to be a very horror-oriented artist. He's done a lot of Mignola-verse work. So
you're getting a lot of questions, Mikail. So, okay, that's good. So what's your favorite, this is what Jason Alvarez asked, what's your favorite published page and favorite commissioned art in your collection, and why?
I won't talk in straight favorites, but the Sandman 50 page, I never thought I'd pick that up as early in my collecting as I was able to. It feels extremely special, like just a jewel, there's no Morpheus, there's no nothing, but it's gorgeous. I love it. So that's a very special published page for me. And for commissions, I think they're all special. It's hard, especially when you've done con commissions with your kids when they come out amazing. Those are the things that you love. Jason, if you go to my CAF, look at the Humberto Ramos piece that I have. That's a con commission he did of Miss Marvel holding my daughter. That's amazing. The Neil Adams commission is probably one of my favorites. Definitely like top 3.
Oh wow! Look at that. That's great.
I gave him a picture of my son. It's the same shirt. It's a pretty good likeness on the face. The jaw's been Neil Adam eyes, but otherwise that's my son. And this is a great piece that I love looking at. It's framed on the wall.
It's too bad Neil didn't have another box, so that your son would be the same height as Batman.
You gotta have something to shoot for,
Yeah, I know. No, it's a fabulous idea. It's really, really cute. and Batman looks
awesome, yeah.
And,
Yeah,
and you can just imagine him scratching out that line. Just one more box.
He's so funny. He's so nice. He and his wife were at Boston, at their stall, and I set it up and we're talking to them. And I went on Saturday, and he's like, "Oh, it's going along well. It's so excited." And then on Sunday, when they gave it to me, they're like, "Oh, I left it in pencil. You can erase it." I'm like, "No, this is such a great gag. It's it's Neil's writing. It's his idea. Like, I'm never going to erase it. That's like perfect."
right.
And it was such a great experience that it kind of scratches my Neil itch as well. So you'll notice I don't have any Neil Adams published pages. And that's kind of a conscious decision you can make too, right? It's not as important to me. So those funds will go to something else. I don't need to spend that money on having that example.
But it's amazing to see how creative he is, I mean, at his age and everything that he came up with. So you didn't give him that concept. You just said, Batman and my son. That's all you said?
Yeah, and he's so excited about it. I was like, I'm like, and I give this spiel to every artist. I have this whole look sheet, printed out with like different angles of my kids that I give them. And I always say, I'm not expecting, realistic photo. I just want an impression. And he was like, I got this. I love doing realistic drawing. You're going to love it. I mean, he just knocked it out of the park. And
it's so clever for him to, the idea that all kids want to feel like, they could be big like their hero, and like, that he came up with that and clever. I mean,
it's very clever. I thought you told him how to do it with the boxes and everything. He thought all that up. I think that's awesome.
Yeah. And even then, if you look at, again, if anyone's interested, go to the Steve Rude page. He did a great commission of my daughter. And again, he put Superman, I just said Superman and my daughter. He made them interact in a completely perfect way that's very natural for how it would be if Superman were just playing with some kid,
All right. Wow.
Yeah, I thought, this is when a commission goes well, when you get something nice and it's a drug. You just want to keep exploring. What can I produce? What can I work with someone? What can we produce together? I really, that's me being a artist by proxy.
Yeah.
Well, you have like these cute kids that are great props. That helps a lot.
Now you got to get one with your doggy in it.
It's definitely not. It's been thought of, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, something went quietly, right?
Him with crypto or Speedy.
No, but that's Bowie's why he woke up to get the.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
If I could get Frank to just do some commissions, right? I mean.
Yeah, that doesn't happen. Not usually, anyway. I mean, I've talked to him a few times, but yeah, he'd rather he's slow already, right? So he never really can do anything special like that, unfortunately. Maybe.
Right. And all his projects, Jupiter's Circle. I thought, great work. I really wish I'd been collecting OA at the time. I would have definitely pursued some more of that. Definitely one of my favorites. I love getting all pencil pieces. They're so tight. You don't even need the ink. Oh, this is a Painted Quietly. Again, one of my very early cons. Super fortunate that they brought in Frank and Cheeky Joe, as he's known.
Yeah.
And it was I met him and I was speaking to him and Joseph told me that Frank didn't do a lot of cons because he didn't want to be sitting there defending his work, but when in actuality a lot of people are coming to cons to just compliment their creators and tell them how much they like the work. So he came to Boston after quite a gap, and he said, and I hope this is true, that he really enjoyed his interaction with the fans and would be open to doing some more. So, and then luckily Joseph had this piece and one of the Batman and Robin covers with him, and so I that was the biggest deal that I did by far, just on like a spur of the moment. But I was able to see the pieces and then say, okay, you know, I'd like these two pieces. And
Yeah, you don't see painted pieces by him too often.
that's definitely one of the things I like about it, that it's, you know, it's a little bit rare. Same thing with I have an Eric Carl, you know, from the Hungry Caterpillar. If you look for fully illustrated pieces by him, they're not that common. So I was pretty happy to pick this up. This is like ridiculously expensive too. But it is rare. And it's certainly, if you search for comparable pieces, you will not find them.
Right. At
And
first, I
then
didn't recognize the name. I didn't realize who he was until I looked him up.
Yeah, and he's kept all his art for his own museum.
Is that guy?
Yeah. So all the pages are, you know, going to be in the Eric Carl Museum in Massachusetts. Right. And then the Art Spiegelman as well. You know, I mean, who wouldn't love a page from Mouse?
Right.
This is a pretty nice consolation prize. I believe it used to belong to Rob Pistella. He sent it to auction, and I was able to pick it up.
Yeah, I don't think Spiegelman sold any of these pieces. I think he has all that.
My understanding is he has them all. Yep. But I've seen in some artist studio, I thought I saw like a big page of it. But yeah, it's that when you talk about like super grails, right? Like a Tintin or a Mouse page or something from Asterix.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, this hobby is endlessly fascinating, right? My wife had for her 40th birthday, I had the idea there was a book of poetry that she was reading that she really liked. So I contacted the illustrator of the cover and said, hey, is the original art available? And he's like, no, it was all digital, but I'll make you a reproduction. So then I reproduced the art, and there's a single figure in a boat. So I had him put my wife in the boat instead of the original figure.
Oh, wow.
And so that was like my OA kind of interest coming to bear on like something that was a little bit outside of the realm, but not really. Because illustration is illustration once you learn how to look at it and where to find it.
So, you know, Valentine's Day is right around the corner, and I'm going to put you in charge of the gift that you're getting my wife. I hope that's okay with you.
Send him a picture.
No, the gift that you're getting your wife.
With his help.
No, it's just like he's the right guy for the job. I'm totally clueless.
This will lighten the mood. This is another piece that Mikail had sent me.
Oh man, I love this page. I love the story of Ben Grimm's bachelor party. Look at Thor's face.
Are they playing strip poker?
They sure are. I'm assuming Sandra lost.
And Sandra is actually saying in this page, "Hatest not the player."
Yeah, she's got all the clothes.
And Thor is saying, "Methinks this weed is not of an earthly domain," or something like that.
Wow.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So this is, there was another DPS from this story that was at Comic Link that I bought, and I posted it, and I said, I love this story, I love this DPS. It's not the strip poker DPS, but I'm happy to have it. And then as a result of that, Allison reached out to me and said, hey, I have the strip poker DPS. So again, that's a kind of example of where being a part of the community, posting, sharing, helps me then get the piece that I wanted.
Sure.
And knock on wood, I have a great relationship with Allison and Adam now, and I've been able to pick up a couple of pieces that I just love, and I love Adam's interiors. His work on.
When was this on? I'm not familiar with the story. So when
So Fantastic Four number 5, or basically Fantastic Four number 650. So maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Got it.
Oh.
And it's signed twice. The silly thing about this is the Thing would lose after one hand.
And I love, like, if you look at Rocket, like, you can tell what's going through Rocket's head, even though you can't even see his face. You know, like, Adam's just a master of the human form, or the raccoon form.
That is
Great. I really enjoy the other double spread that you have from this issue with the basically
with the
female serpent
bursting through the wall.
Yeah.
That was the one I got on Comic Link, the first one that I got. Yeah.
Okay. No, I mean this is this is Thing and his famous poker games is what people remember, but I got a little thing for the Serpent Squad. So.
Well, it's a great page, and even that page, if you look at it, and this brings the original art. When you look at it closely, you can see how Adam drew it, and then where he put in the blacks. So, like, even on the skulls of the people, you can see where he put in ears and drew it all out, and then it just blacked out because it was never meant to be shown. But he's still doing the anatomy. He's still doing the form behind the mask.
wow.
I love this, the triumphant pose, just like bursting through the cake. And then, of course, Adam's cameoing in the back as the bartender.
There you go, Mike.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's
and you got
Adam.
Spider-Man, Mike. He's there.
I know, more Spider-Man art in the collection. Happy days.
I've got Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. Don't get me wrong. I'm a big Spidey fan.
Don't play into his hand, Mikail. He just wants everybody to be Spider-Man.
You need some good silver and bronze. Yeah.
I'm afraid you're talking to the wrong fellow.
Well, you were offered a Ditko, so you thought about it.
I got to have a Ditko. That's the there's things that I think as you get older and you start to just really see the masters of the art.
Yeah.
Ditko. I really want.
I was wondering if you own a Jack Kirby piece.
I have a nice Kirby. It's an
good,
Impossible Man. It's Impossible Man, but you have a great Fantastic, Mr. Fantastic in it too. And you have some background, and it's all pencil. They were very strong.
Oh, nice. A commish.
Sketchbook. Yeah, from the sketchbook.
Nice.
Yeah. And, I've seen some of the Bernie Wrightson plates in person. Those are phenomenal. I've seen a Mary Severin painted print. That was amazing. I'd love one of those. So there's, the more you're in the hobby, the more you see these amazing things that,
Sure.
A Sergio Aronis. I'd love a Mad story. That's what I grew up on. Kurtzman from Mad as well. But this time, I'm a young guy. Wait for you guys to die and then just swoop in.
Nice. Wow.
Retire.
Well, wait a minute. You said the missus just had her 40th. You're not that young.
A guy.
I realize.
Yeah.
Get hit by a bus at any time, at any age. That's all I'm saying, buddy.
Just have another drink, Mikail.
Yeah, we'll be contacting your kids.
My wife does a detailed spreadsheet with figures and instructions. So this is not going to be one of those estate sales that goes wrong.
No, garage sale, you mean. Garage sale.
Man, you guys are
cool. It's a great hobby. I wish it was more. I wish it was easier to get into. I think about how technology changes things. When we were kids, you always had a weird sense about, like, I should keep these comics and bag them. I think the hardcore collector always has that instinct to do it. But at the same time, we had Mad magazines and comics that we rolled up, put in our pockets, put in our bags, and read 100,000 times. Because there wasn't anything else to do, so you would reread stuff instead of having access to, like, thousands of new comics, right? Action 583, I think I've written to a couple of you about those. That's a sweet spot comic for me. It was because in that suitcase in my grandmother's attic, there was a copy of Action 583, and I read it to death over and over again. And it's such a great story. I love a page from it. Like that's the real hardcore nostalgia for me.
Sure.
But I love, I love collecting women artists. I love collecting artists of color, artists of different nationalities. I've commissioned from the Philippines. I've commissioned from Italy, Pakistan. There's a lot you can do with this hobby. And as long as you don't overextend yourself. And I keep expecting to see a true Hollywood story about like an original art collector that just, spent too much and blew it all and couldn't keep it under control.
It's out there. It just hasn't made it onto the airwaves.
Right. Oh no. I hear stories every year. Yeah. No, there's guys that jump in the hobby, and buy a lot and then realize it's just not for them. And, usually they end up consigning it, to get out quick. I mean, I do. I hear that story at least twice a year. Just, people who get really excited about being in the hobby and overspend, and then somehow they just want out, and it's very common.
I think a lot of times it's not even they want out, Bill. They come in, they burn bright like a star, but it's hard to keep up with the prices. It's hard to adjust mentally to, I paid, $1,000 this year. Now I got to pay $3,000 in 4 years from now for the same piece, or maybe not. I think that, they still want to be involved, but it's tough to sort of keep reinventing yourself if you want to be, long-term with the hobby.
And I'll tell you, it's so funny. Obviously I was like, okay, Weapon X Flash coming up, put together a nice bit of cash, that I had to have on hand to bid. And then when the auction ended and I didn't win it, suddenly the family was like, man, you're so willing to like buy all this stuff all of a sudden. Oh, we need patio furniture? Sure, let's get it. We need, a new grill? Let's get it. Because it's all like chump change compared to what I was prepared to spend on a piece of paper. But it is funny. It's a hard pill to swallow. It definitely takes a certain kind of individual, I think, to get into this hobby and play at a certain level. And again, no one needs to play at any level. Like, there are great commissions. I see people with great sketchbooks. Again, you can make this hobby whatever you want. I've commissioned pieces for $200, amazing pieces. And, if the artist was overseas, it's a good amount for them. It's a good product for me. And, it's fun.
That's a great attitude, I got to say. And this, honestly, I'm saying this, that there are some collectors who will lament and complain and it's very glass is half empty, and you have a half full attitude that, hey, it's not about what you can spend. It's about what you do with it, where you focus, where you look, and find enjoyment wherever that is.
And knock on wood, I've been fortunate. I trust my eye. I trust what I like. If I had come in, spent my war fund, and then suddenly found that it's all worthless and that nobody wants what I have, and I'm not getting, it's nice when you get an unsolicited offer offering you more money than you paid for a page, right? Like, that's validation. That's like, I've done a good job. My work is, my pieces are holding their value. People want them. But if you were to come in, spend, $75K, $80K, $100K, and then like suddenly like people are like, oh yeah, you have a nice collection, but nothing that interests me. No one's commenting on your pieces. No one's liking them. It's disheartening. It can feel weird, I bet.
It's funny you say that. That I went through that exact same thing, and I have a story just real quick. Just like that, I was doing comic books, and I'd go to the shows, and everybody's offering you 20, 25%, and I have to give kudos to the guy that helped me get my collection. 3 years in, I wanted to sell some peaches, and I went to Mitch Ickowitz, and he says, I paid like $200 a piece for like 5 pages, and he goes, well, I'll give you $250 for each. I'm going like, a dealer's going to give me more than what I paid for it? I said, okay, I like art more than comics, and that's when I made the switch. it was 3 years into the hobby. I said, okay, a dealer's going to give me more than what I paid for this. I know that this art is a better thing than comics. And that was just when the light bulb went off, and I said, okay, I'm getting done with comics completely. And because I was collecting like key golden ages, I said, I'm getting out of the comics and art full time, collecting wise. And that was my light bulb moment, just like what you said.
I also like the idea that you were talking about earlier about, like, you know, that regardless of what your budget is, there's a way for you to explore this hobby in an exciting way if you just, you know, if you know your budget, and you try and figure out which artists excite you in that budget, and you can commission them, or you can get certain pages that are from newer artists that are exciting. And so, you know, this hobby doesn't, we all complain, we look at Heritage and we complain about how prices are, you know, astronomical at each auction, but really, like, you know, there is a level to get very, very high enjoyment out of this hobby, you know, at the beginning stages, the middle stages, the late stages, like wherever you are in the hobby, you know, you can find an exciting niche. And you know, I think that's true. You just got to look for it.
Yep. I said, just like what Mikail said, I always tell people that when they first get in the hobby, they go, well, what do I do? I said, start out with sketches. It doesn't cost you anything. You know what they are. I said, and then graduate to the published pages. I tell everybody, anybody could go to a con, well, pre-COVID, of course. But I mean, and get sketches from artists for $50, under $100, and have something that's enjoyable, you know?
Right.
And especially take a picture and see if they'll even put like a family member in it or yourself into it, incorporated with your favorite hero. I think that's a great way to get started without spending a lot of money. And you did it the right way to start, Mikail. So
I feel lucky. I feel like the hobby's been really good to me. I feel like I've been lucky in my decisions. I think you'll notice it yourself, right? As a collector, when, you know, there was a time where I saw every single piece that was posted on CAF. You know, every single new art, you know, I would have eyes on it, just because, you know, over the course of the day you'd log in and just browse through the pages. You know, I don't look at it that much anymore, but your perseverance in that regards will pay off. You'll see pieces posted for sale before anyone else. Speaking of Spider-Man, you know, I bought this beautiful Sal Buscema Spidey page off someone was selling it on CAF. You know, it was just like listed for sale. I bought it. You know, arrived, everything good. And then it's an interesting piece because I got, and I'd actually be interested in your guys' opinion on it. I got an offer on it. So somebody wrote to me and said, hey, would you be willing to sell this? And whenever somebody says that, I'm like, sure, I'll listen. You know, who doesn't like to listen? They gave me an offer that was so outrageous. Like, so
high or low?
High. I'm sure we get outrageously low offers all the time. This is outrageously high over what I had paid for it, right? Like, imagine I paid $200 and somebody's offering me $2,000. Okay. And so I spoke to a couple friends of mine. I spoke to a dealer. I said, I've got an offer for this page. I really like it, but the money is crazy. And so I want to sell it, but what's my responsibility to this person who's offered me this seemingly out of market price? It's a collector that I looked at their CAF. They've been collecting longer than me. They have a bunch of stellar pieces. I told them, write to me tomorrow, and if you still want to buy it at this under these terms, I'll sell it to you. And he did, and I did, and so I made a really good amount of money on a single page. And then some years later, I see the page for sale at basically at the market value, what I had paid for it. So like 10 times less than I had sold it for.
Wow.
But I didn't buy it because it felt insulting to like then swoop in and re-pick it up from someone who's obviously made some bad decisions or has got to a point where they have to unload parts of their collection at a deeply discounted price, it's always left a bad taste in my mouth. And I try to write to the person and offer them advice, and I think I even probably would have sold them pieces at like less than I would have sold other people to try and make it up in my head that I just put. But he offered me this huge price. So what would you guys do? I mean, like, how does that even work in this hobby?
And you said that he had been doing it longer than you, and that, you know, like he probably had some experience in the hobby, and he must have felt like that page was really, really important to him for some specific reason that you can't understand. And so he must have known when he made you for that, you know, or at least thought that it was special to him, that this was what it was worth to him to, I don't know that you need to feel so badly about it, given that he approached you. Offer.
I hope so. But you know,
I mean, the thing is, I think as long as you're upfront. I mean, I've had people offer me over market, and you know, especially if it's quite a bit over market, I will point that out. Or even things that I've priced that they've said, hey, you know, I'm interested, I'll buy it, but is this the market? I'll say, no, it's high. Or it's aggressive because, you know, for whatever reason, this particular piece, this is the price, or I'm just going to keep it. But I think it's just, you know, being honest about it, and then they make their decision whether they want to overpay. I mean, anybody that's collected long enough, or most anybody, you know, I mean, I know I've overpaid many times at the time. Maybe it catches up, maybe it doesn't, but it's an adult decision. I mean, you're not putting a gun to their head. I mean, you do kind of, I get what you're saying. I used to have a customer years ago that used to buy things off me, would be very excited, would you know, get me the money very quickly. And then, like, I don't know, 2 or 3 months down the line would offer me back, hey, do you want to buy this back? At like 40% less than what I sold it to him for. And the first couple times he did that, I was like, I didn't buy it because I felt bad. I'm like, man, this guy must be in trouble. And then I realized he was just selling it to other dealers for the same price, and sometimes they'd even make him a lower offer. So I'm like, well, hell, if he's gonna, you know, if he's doing this for whatever reason, you know, he's like jumping in, he wants a piece, and then he decides he doesn't, or he wants something else, only has X amount of money. But I just thought, you know, I'm not going to offer him less, but if this is his price, okay, I guess I'll buy it back. But it took me a couple times of that happening for me to feel comfortable doing that, because I felt like in some way I was taking advantage. But I did point out to him, I said, you do know I sold this to you for more money just, you know, last whatever. And he's like, oh yeah, I know, but I need the money quickly. If you can get me the money quickly, this is the price. And I'm like, okay. So I mean, you don't know what motivates people, what their reasoning is, if it's something bad, if it's just how they do things. I mean, you just don't know. You can't dwell on it and make it your problem. As long as you're being honest and you're communicating and they understand what's going on, they're not, you know, not in the right mental state. I mean, as long as all those things are on board, you can't let it keep you up at night.
Well, the difference with him is he never had a price on it. So to me, make offer, people made an offer. So it's different than if it's on a website. Just an example, I think I probably bought the same piece of art. There's one particular piece of art I've bought 3 different times at auction. Bought it, sold it. It went in auction for way less than what I sold it for. Bought it, sold it again, and it was in auction again, and I bought it. I'm going like, okay, you know. I've literally bought the same piece of art 3 different times at auction after I sold it on my website for more, and I'm thinking like, you know,
that was me private,
but sometimes it does, and I'm thinking like, I know what this thing should be worth. Just an example, I was talking to Albert. I have like it might get somebody in trouble. I don't think so, but I bought a Michael Golden. What's that look for, Will? You don't know what I'm going to say?
I'm waiting to hear what you're going to say.
Might get someone in trouble usually means it will get someone in trouble.
I know, I'm waiting for Will to give me. Anyway, I bought a Michael Golden. Me and Albert were talking post auction, and I said, "Hey, I bought this big, huge Michael Golden cold cover. I think I paid like $6,000." Albert goes, "I sold it on my website last year for $15,000." I go, "Well, I just bought it for $15,000. I don't know." So I'm going like, "Well, somebody put it in auction. I guess I got a good deal on it."
Well, I think he actually sold it for 10. I actually sold it for a little below that. I hope it wasn't the same person. I hope they didn't take a loss on it. But
Am I the only person
I
that
know
didn't?
what cover you're talking about. I own that couple, or I brokered it a couple years ago.
I'm just saying. Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody lost out on it because they only got $6,000 out of
I
it.
just thought it was, well, the reason I liked it, it was like 14 by 20 inch art image. I'm going like, Michael Golden cover for like that price? I'm going like, that's a good deal. And I just bought it at auction, and I just shot Albert that it was like.
His style had changed a little bit around that time.
But I'm just saying.
I did the same thing privately, Mike. There was a JLA 22 page that I bought and sold 3 times, and each time I sold it for more and I bought it back for less, and it made me scratch my. And it was 3 different collectors. It made me scratch my head, but okay.
So Mikail, I think the important thing here is that you probably are in the minority of the people that wouldn't buy it back. If you got 10 times the value for it, and that piece was out there at 1/10 of what you got for it, I'd be looking at it probably and saying, I'm going to be able to buy that and have the 90% left over to buy something more. I mean, it
was a form of penance. It was
right.
a form of like I did the devil's deal, but I'm not going to like double down and then also like get the art back and like sit there and laugh on my pile of money. Like it's okay, I can live without it. Something else will come along.
But like we're talking, I always tell people, a lot of people will always say, just an example, we all sell artwork in general, the 3 art guys here, and I get a kick out of sometimes somebody on a chat board will say, "Oh, why is this priced at that? It sold at this price at auction." I go, "Well, it just seems that that's what it was worth that day at that particular time." If you offer trade or offer people didn't have money at the time, I go, it's only worth that much that day. Doesn't mean it's worth that a year from then. You know what I mean? But people don't understand that, and they assume.
And to add to that, especially
market value.
If you go back a year and a half or 2 years, there are plenty of times at auction where things undersold. I mean, you don't see that quite as much nowadays. But I mean, there were times things literally undersold. You could take that piece and sell it the same night for a profit.
Right.
Because it undersold.
It's because you were watching the auction, right? Like you were just because you were keeping track.
Well, I remember when McFarlane was still. Oh, go ahead, Will.
No, I was going to say, yeah, you're watching the auction, but it's also you kind of just understand the market. You can't just watch the auctions and just like, oh, I know I can sell that for more money.
No, obviously, but like I feel like now everyone's combing through like every Heritage Weekly, every Heritage Signature, every comic, so those deals are not there.
The auctions are very strong now. I said nowadays it almost seems like with auctions we're going to be talking pre-COVID and post-COVID prices. It almost seems, because I mean this year has just been. I mean we all know our art auctions have been very, very strong this past year. Good, bad, or otherwise.
Bill's right. Most people would have done it. You fall into the minority, and that is a testament to your character. My point is simply, I've been in a similar situation. It gave me hesitation, but I'm just saying, as long as you're honest, you shouldn't let it keep you up at night. That's
again, if you never had a price on it and they make an offer, there's not even 1% of doing anything unethical because they made you an offer. It ain't like you had
you gave them 24 hours to think about it. You said you tried to let them rationalize it and walk away and never get back to you. They still wanted it.
Sleep off your drunken stupor, and if you still
Hey, I do know for a fact that there have been fantastic pieces added to CAF recently where the new owner got drunk and made an offer that they may not have made were they sober, and then got the piece. So.
You're not speaking from personal experience, right?
You make sometimes you place a bid, you close the computer down, you're like, I did my best, I'm just gonna wait.
that's a whole nother, holding your liquor in your right frame of mind when you're drinking. That's a whole nother discussion.
I mean, I think I had a strong drink after I. There are like milestone purchases that you make. When you're on the phone with Heritage and you're bidding on a Watchman page, you need to have a drink after you won that just to kind of settle yourself.
And you drink twice as much if you didn't get it.
Well, not if you can't drink too much if you're bidding on the subsequent lots. You don't want to I got the Watchman page.
Yeah, keep going.
What's funny is
I never do that. If I don't get the page I'm going for, it just puts me off the whole auction. And I'm like, there's money in my pocket. I'm done with this. It's really weird.
I hear you. I know.
I don't know. That surprises me because you're glass half full. I would think you would just.
Yeah. Plus, you have such.
I guess focus on one thing. The last Heritage, I really went strongly after I was the underbidder on the Art Adams Classic X-Men page.
Oh, the cover.
And that was the first piece, right, to come up.
It was, yeah.
And so after that, after I lost it, because it was getting close to like $27K with the juice and the tax and everything. And I was just like, I had 3 other pieces lined up, and I just didn't follow up on them. I didn't care.
Oh man!
But I happen to like that the most, so I think that
you're going to get a call from Heritage in the next auction. Somebody's going to say, Mikail, they're going to try and cheer you up and tell you a nice story, and tell you what a nice jacket you're wearing that day, and
I'm like,
they're going to send you an catalog of tequila.
Yeah.
The Heritage label tequila.
Right.
Well, maybe that's why I get those bottles of wine from Comic Connect every year. That's just their way of kind of softening up the.
They're like, with the little note that says, "Drink this during our auction."
They got a wine cellar full of that stuff. They got it,
I know.
Just don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
So what about you guys? Anyone have anything you're going after 2021? We're living in the future.
Just cool art that we like that nobody else wants.
You guys, you're all so complete. You've had your.
No, there's always stuff, but I mean, there's some things that you may just not want to spill the beans on because I learned a long time ago. I spilled the beans and it came back to haunt me. So, you got to be careful with that. No, for me, there are some things that tickle my nostalgic sweet spot that I would love to find, but and they're not that expensive, but they don't always pop up, and there's those things. And then there's, some example of some artist that I either don't have or I feel like I want to get more of pops up, and maybe it's a bit of a stretch financially and I got to figure it out. But no, right. I don't personally set out with a game plan that this year I'm going to get X, Y, and C just because, it doesn't usually happen like that.
For a while, it seemed like as prices were rising in the last few years, a lot of really cool pieces that we hadn't seen before that may have been buried in collections were popping up. And so it was kind of exciting. You were like, well, like what's going to pop up in the new Heritage? Like that Defenders 9 cover was like one of my favorite covers. And then it showed up. And of course, like I wish I'd found it years ago when it was like a $20,000 cover, and then it goes for, $102,000. And I'm less interested at $102,000 in owning it. But it's strange because now it feels like this last auction felt like there was less of that, and yet less of like sort of like these buried treasures coming out, and yet the prices were still just enormous anyway. And so you wonder if like the people that are sitting on like really great pieces, are they thinking like the market's going even higher, so like let's slow down, let's hold on to these things?
Well, when you guys spoke to Vincent from Comic Connect, and I thought it was interesting how he was talking about the people who have the random Born Again page in their collection, and they're not even collecting anymore. It's something they bought 20 years ago and then just forgot about, or they have a very small collection, and then, how many pieces, key pages of runs are in collections like that, where there's somebody who bought.
We don't know.
I mean,
like they're sitting in their closet and they're not even thinking about it because they don't even think it's worth anything. They're not following the market, and there could be lots of stuff like that. But at a certain point, everybody wakes up. Everybody like the higher the prices get, the more like these things are in the news, the more media coverage.
The more your Google search reveals immediately, like, hey.
And then you go like, hey, I've got like one of those in my closet. Jesus, like I better take a look at that thing because I think there's like a leak in the closet. I better go pull that thing out, and then before you know it, it's like it should, because they don't know how to sell it, so they'll ship it off to an auction house, and then you see it there.
And unfortunately, when they do have something similar or that example, it's not as nice, and yet somehow they think it's worth more than the miraculous price it just got at auction. That's usually what happens.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, people that don't follow the market are always looking at the hot. I mean, it's very easy. It's very easy to to go to the highest price and then extrapolate from your piece to the highest price. Why shouldn't mine?
Or it's hard to understand why the Ditko page that you have off of some minor title is not worth
Phantom 2099.
Right. Yeah. Why isn't that worth $100K?
Chuck Norris.
Yes.
The Chuck Norris page should be worth a lot. That's true.
To Chuck.
Right.
And a legion of fans.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on
I
2
was
hours,
looking
guys.
at Conan
we are.
cover that's signed by Schwarzenegger right across it.
Oh yeah. What was that? Was that a Conan cover?
Yeah.
Where Schwarzenegger signed it all the way across? Yeah.
Better than Jason Momoa signing it. Not that I don't love Jason Momoa's work, but just not on Conan so much.
I heard about it, but I haven't seen that. But it must be pretty egregious. You guys have also seen the Angry Girlfriend, the variant of the Spider-Man slab. Somebody had like an early edition Spider-Man, and I'll send you a link. The girlfriend, when she was breaking up with him, just like scrawled all over it with marker.
Oh yeah. I saw that. Yeah.
Still had it slabbed. It's still like it's like a 1.8, but it's still like it's called the Angry Girlfriend variant.
Right.
Wow.
Nice.
That's funny.
You got to be careful now.
Yeah, that's kind of that's like a reverse Valentine's present.
Exactly.
You learn not to leave markers and crowns out and valuable things with kids, but I guess that can account for girlfriends and arguments as well.
I know Albert posted a couple Instagram posts of his kids perhaps getting onto original artwork with crayons or markers or color pencils.
They
I
are
don't follow Albert on Instagram. Maybe I should. But
it's working for the write-ups alone on his drop.
all right, I'll have to check it out. I follow him on Facebook, but I never followed him. I didn't think he was too serious over there, but I guess maybe he is.
I think he's outsourced to someone.
Well, it's either that or Albert likes writing about himself in the third person. And I hope none of Albert's friends are watching right now.
Yeah, and I love Albert, everybody, just so they know, from last time.
Bam.
Yeah.
I love Albert too,
But not so much after last week, but we'll discuss that at a future date.
Bam, Mike.
Bam, original art.
And Pebbles.
Berkey Albert Moy.
And I have no comment.
Me neither. Well, like Glenn noticed, we are almost at the 2-hour mark here, so that's when we all start turning into pumpkins. But Mikail, this has been great. You've got such a fresh perspective on the hobby that I don't think we've talked with anybody quite like you before. This is great.
No, you do. You really do.
You're like a breath of fresh air. It's like extraordinary. It's so nice to see.
It's good for us old guys to get that breath of fresh air.
It's good for you to accept your age is the first step. That's
I was going to say something about gray hair here. Yeah.
And you need to accept your mortality, young man.
I will. Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure. I really enjoyed getting to know you guys a little bit more. And I like I said, I love chatting about this stuff. I think it's a great hobby, and I've had a lot of fun.
I think the last comment is very appropriate.
Yeah, Vidal Sassoon.
I'm wearing a sport jacket next show. I'm just putting it out there.
Yeah,
I feel like you got to step it up here, fellas.
We're thinking me and Mikail, maybe we'll let you on the show next week after we smoke.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to decide if you're.
Mike, you gotta work on the hair though. You gotta get it.
Ooh, look at that!
All right, there we go.
Bill.
Look at the top row here.
You're invited. It's like being on Saturday Night Live. Once you're on 5 times, you get to wear the jacket. On Saturday Night Live.
There you go.
Well, I'm gonna give you my tailor's name on Amazon, and we're gonna be ready next week.
Yeah. Now we're gonna have to really show who can dress here.
You need a blue jacket though, Bill. Gray's not.
I know.
It's
kind of a shark skin jacket. No, this isn't the one I wore to my wedding, but.
Yeah, Bill. Yeah, Bill, and you have some crazy show tomorrow or something, huh?
Oh no, we're not talking about that. All right.
I'm excited for that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
That was a great idea.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right.
Don't forget CAF's birthday on Monday, next Monday. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to doing it. And the rundown on all the best art added to CAF.
I hear they're giving out beads on CAF if you post that.
Wow.
I'm not,
Only show your flashes.
Get your comic art fans birthday shirt. Don't forget to get your comic art.
Man, I love you guys. This is the best show I've done in a long time.
Yeah, they're only like $59.95, like Albert shipping. I mean, how much are these shirts again?
Oh, boy.
All right, we got to call it a night.
Have a good night.
Yep. Good night, everybody.